Welcome back to Numbers Never Lie.
Hey guys, welcome to the newest episode of Numbers Never Lie. With the playoffs going strong and it being award season, I thought an episode dedicated to our MVP race would be a nice touch. But at the same time, I'd like to get the forum stirring with controversy. I feel as though we have a three-way race for the coveted MVP trophy between Big Man, Party, and the Hutch. All three players had outstanding seasons on both sides of the ball, and all three of them made the playoffs. In this week's episode, I'm going to break down some numbers for each candidate that should help their case. You're also going to get a glimpse of their stats from last season so you can compare. I want this debate to be as controversial in the most biased way possible, but keep it clean. Don't come out and say any of the candidates aren't important to their team because that's ignorance. Bengals wouldn't be the same team without Big Man, 49ers wouldn't be the same without Party, and the Saints wouldn't be the same without the Hutch. To think otherwise is just naive. So our first candidate will be Party, 2409. Now, as you can see, here are his stats for Season 4 and Season 5. Both seasons, Party was voted first team Pro Bowl running back. They are extremely similar in just about every category offensively and defensively. Last season, Party was also an MVP candidate. I believe he had more of an MVP type season in Season 4, but he was also on a deep Lions team also. This season, if you take him off the 49ers, then that completely revamps the entire team and possibly keeps them out of the playoffs. Now, here is some other stats that I'd like you to see. His team record was 37-28, and his Lions record was 11-6. This season, Party averaged his line averaged 26.3 points per game, and the rest of the team, the Niners team, averaged 24.1 points per game. So you can see their line is a little bit better than the rest of the team as far as points are concerned. Now, those 11 wins that Party's line had this season, that's 29.7% of the team's wins this season. Another interesting fact was that his line ran 625 plays on offense. But inside of those numbers were his run plays, and he probably had the most balanced offense of the three MVP candidates, where they ran the ball 52% of the time, as compared to 48% passing. Now that, to me, is surprising because we're obviously in a passing-based league. Most running backs, unless you're on Dan's line or Party's line or, Carnage's line, you're going to be passing a lot more than you're going to be running. And that's just the way it is. Unless you're a breakout kind of running back, that's just the way it is. We're in a passing league. So obviously he's going to have, out of the three, the more balanced offense. I guess if there was any knock against Party getting MVP, I'd say that his stats don't stand out quite as much as the Hutch or Big Man. But from a team factor, he might mean more to his team overall. Our next candidate is Big Man. Here is Season 4 and Season 5 stats. Looks like a completely different player, right? The stats on both sides of the ball jumped significantly, which is a surprise because he went from a very good Ravens team to having to play with an above-average Bengals roster. We all knew Big Man had great potential, and I think we saw a huge breakout performer, Victor Cruz-esque, in my opinion. Now, taking a look at his stats, I broke it down just the same way I broke down Party's. His team record was 39-26, and his Lions record was 12-5. His line averaged 32.4 points per game. The rest of the entire Bengals team averaged 26.7 points, almost a touchdown more. Of the 12 wins his line had, 30.7% of those wins were Bengals wins. So he actually attributed to 30% of their wins, which for any first line, that is what you want. You got 4 lines, so in a perfect world, you want 25% of your wins coming from each line, 4 lines. So anything about 30% is considered really good by any line. It means they're carrying the load. As far as offense goes, they ran 611 plays on offense. 58% of the time was passing. Now, I didn't break down every team's record, but I'm pretty sure that if I average it out, that'd probably be the highest percentage of any team in the VFL. 58% of the time you're passing the ball, that's a lot. That's only 42% of the time you're running the ball. And I realize we're in a passing league, but to not run the ball quite near as much as you're passing, that just, I mean, they're 12-5, so I guess their record speaks for itself, but it's just hard to, imagine not running the ball. This is coming from a running back, of course. The knock against big man is that wide receivers will always have skewed stats. I'm sorry, but they just don't have any negative stats such as interception or drops. Maybe drops will be something to consider adding for next season, I don't know. The big thing going for big man is that he was the most dominant player on both sides of the ball out of the three candidates. He had first team Pro Bowl on both sides. Now my final candidate is the bummy, the Hutch 07. Worst QB in the league, we all know it. Anyway, here's his stats for Season 4 and Season 5. Now, Hutch was an MVP candidate last season also. Looking at the stats, you'd probably be amazed that he was an MVP candidate, but only Mr. ATM was a more dominant player on both sides of the ball than the Hutch last season. His offensive stats look minuscule compared to this season, but that just shows how ridiculous of a season he had in Season 5. Out of three, he probably had the most impact stats-wise of the three candidates. I mean, it's nearly a perfect season. Didn't even reach double digits in interceptions. Now, to break down his stats from last season, his team record was 44-21. So his team won a lot of games. Of those games, his line won 14 games. He won 14-2 in 16 games played. The 14 games that he won out of the 44, that's 31.8% of the team's wins. That's high. That's the highest out of the three candidates. Now, his line averaged 30.6 points per game. The rest of the Saints squad averaged 24.2 points per game, which is also almost another touchdown more than the rest of the team. So a high-flying offense. On offense, they ran 554 plays. Now compare that to Party or Big Man, who ran over 600 plays on offense. So almost 50 less plays on offense. Out of the 554 plays on offense that they ran, 54% were passing plays. So a little, not as much as Big Man as far as passing percentage, but definitely more balanced. And also closer to what Party ran is 52% running. So 54% passing plays, that's pretty decent. I know 4% between him and Big Man doesn't seem a lot, but that can come out to a lot of passing plays and a lot more plays ran. The knock against Hutch is that he also had two very impactful players on his line, but were they better because of him or in spite of him? He brought up a good point the other day when I received D-Line of the Year. Most teams fear throwing at him, so they hold the ball longer in the pocket, which allows me more time to sack the QB. Is that the case? That's all for you to decide. My final opinion on all three is that all have MVP-type impacts on their team, but when you break it down, is there another player in this league that can match their stats and impacts given the right situation? Is there a player like Party that can carry the team into the playoffs? Is there a player like Big Man who can be that dominant on both sides of the ball? Or is there someone like Hutch who is just near perfect at the QB position? Like I said, I want this to be as controversial and as biased as possible. Even if they're your teammates, speak out for them. Let the league know why you think they should be the MVP or why they shouldn't be the MVP. All that I ask is that you keep it nice, nothing vulgar, nothing ignorant, and that's all. This is meant to have fun, and I apologize for anybody that I may have left out, any stats that I may have messed up on. And last but not least, good luck to all the teams left in the playoffs, and have a good rest of the season.